are they truly filled and that family is truly serving a need. And I know it would be much more convenient for the high school teams to practice at the high school, but the reality is it's not that far to Leiter, it's not that far to McCall. And we need to be using our facilities to their fullest extent. We need to be doing that. Thank you.
Kirk Bauer, 77 Lundy Lane, and just to clarify, my arm was not twisted to speak. I have a couple of questions. I'm going to cut it short of what I originally wanted to say because people already asked some of the questions I had, and following Robert's rules, I know I got to repeat them. My biggest question, first off, bringing up the auxiliary gym. Mr. Ruffin, do all the schools have a gym?
Do all the schools have a gym?
Now, when I say gym, I'm talking minimum basketball hoops hanging on the wall.
Well, South Valley does.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank Mr. LeCrone for his comments because he's right. All the students do need to be treated fairly, and I've been doing it for 10 years for the Valley. I just want to mention it's rhetorical. It's something I want all of you to think about. You are all the elected people of this community. I want to know what happened the night that we voted for Project Unity. Because as a parent and as a taxpayer, which I am first, since it seems to come out differently other places, I want to know what happened from that night, because that night you had a community actually feeling good about something. And to find out then a couple meetings later, all we do now is try to vote over that. If you care about all the students and the community, I think you need to reflect back to that night. I don't think it's, I voted that way because that's a deception. If you're against the plan, you vote against the plan. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Bauer, let me answer that question. Since you put that in an email to me, and I gave you a very detailed and respectful answer one night about 3 weeks ago, and I explained to you that when Ron Snell proposed Project Unity, here was the deal. You either vote for Project Unity or the project stays shut down. Okay?
But
The project would not have restarted. Go ahead.
As an official, you vote no, and you explain that then.
I voted yes.
But instead, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm not
Right.
speaking for a group, I'm not speaking for your survey, which I would like to know what the sample size is. If you look at that process, if that's how you believe at that point, as a leader, you should have said, I'm voting no because of that.
Okay.
But instead, to me, it looks like a perception that, hey, let's vote now to give an empty board seat. If we get that filled, we'll just go back to the original plan. And that's exactly how it was.
Okay, let me tell you
And I'm just saying, that night was good for the community. I don't like coming here. This has become almost like people becoming prosecutors. Come here and work together. I'm talking to all of you. I'm pleading with all of you. But the shading, the raising papers of one another, it's not getting us anywhere. If you have those issues, you do that in executive session. That's how it works. This is becoming a show. And I don't care what side you're on, because it's becoming tripped. I'm tired of the fight. I take ownership to that as well. And I think it's time, if we honestly believe it's for the kids, we don't act like this. We don't have catcalls for the audience. I'm sorry, I come to past board meetings, and when the time was up, I sat down. I didn't demand to be heard. And that's making us look bad, not the board. Because I'm not sure what that survey says, but I know what the survey said in November. And I know everyone, oh, I don't want to hear about November. I studied political science my entire life. Those numbers and margins were huge. And if there's this big outpouring I hear about making these people, everyone resign, where are they?
Okay, let me finish before you walk away. I'll answer your questions. Why did I vote for Project Unity? The stoppage of the project was costing thousands of dollars per day. That 3-month stoppage already cost the taxpayers over $250,000. Okay? All the bills aren't in yet. Think about that. $250,000 flushed down the drain.
I'm thinking about that is what you should have done that night.
Here's what you do though. When you have a chance, when Okay, this is called a tourniquet. We're bleeding, we're hemorrhaging to the tune of thousands of dollars a day. So you put a tourniquet on it to stop the bleeding, and you say, yes, I'll vote for this to get this project started, to get this project restarted, try to get back, we'll never get back on schedule. Okay? If you want the truth, I want option 5 to go back to the original plan the way it should be. That was the correct plan. I stand behind my vote. I make no apologies for it.
I'm not asking for one.
Okay? I'm talking about the tourniquet effect.
Okay? Then why are we seeing all of these expenditures that weren't caught in a 2-year study? All I hear is about 2 years, and it doesn't really look like you looked at all the major expenditures. When you're missing over costs, when you're missing the issues of a 28 square foot flooring system, I mean, you have to look at those areas, and it doesn't seem like it is. I have no issue with the stone building. That's another person's issue. I recognize that since '08, being involved with the ballot, it's always pushed aside. Now, I know I'm going to hear Plan Con. I know how Plan Con works. One of my questions in my email to you was, how long will that Plan Con money come? And what is the guaranteed amount? Because my question is, if it's guaranteed, because I heard 3 million, I heard 6, I heard 5. If it's guaranteed 5 million, build it now and wait for the reimbursement to come back. It goes towards the principal anyhow. So I'm just trying to get everybody on the same page here, because this just going back and forth doesn't get us here. But I respect all your time, and again, you always answer my emails. I appreciate that.
You know, even though you're, and I don't mean to, I'm not taking a shot at you.
Oh, sure. You are. So go ahead.
No, your emails were negative.
I
noticed you
sent
didn't.
an email when you explained why you voted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty, and then you
Because
sent me another.
I'm stating my opinion.
Well, that's fine. Yeah, I'm good with that.
But
You didn't make any complaint about the fact that we spend how much more per student, $2,000 more per student every year at Williside Valley than we do in the students at Lighter. You didn't have a problem with that, right?
I don't want my kids' schools to smell like pee.
You what?
I don't want my kids' schools to smell like pee.
And I read that in your email, yeah. And
Okay.
I saw that.
There's an issue there that needs to be addressed, and all we ask for is an HVAC system. We're not asking for multiple stages. We're not asking for multiple gyms. We don't have one. But we ask for an HVAC. Well, we got to be cost effective.
Okay, you are aware that the original option 5 was to send
And I'm
$5
aware
million
it's
out.
based on Plan Con money, which
Okay.
is 6 to 10 years down the road.
It won't go 6 to 10.
Actually, probably not 6 to 10 years.
How long would it go?
Just so you know. Actually, there's a bill that's been approved now that the state is actually borrowing the money to pay up Plan Con. We can get that Plan Con money very quickly, actually.
And how much was cut from the original?
How much was cut from what original?
The original amount of money that was supposed to be in Plan Con.
My question to Plan Con officials today was exactly that. Through all these change orders, how much will that negatively impact our Plan Con reimbursement? Right now, we're still...
Under Plan Con, under your plan, does work start at the valley?
We don't have that plan.
I wanted to know.
There's very legitimate reasons for that plan. If you were involved back when the board was involved over the 2-year study, there's very, very specific reasons why that plan didn't happen. We've actually had contractors go through that building and tell us the building's in great shape. We know.
Structurally, it's in great shape.
Absolutely. And the high school's need was much greater. We can only do one project at a time and do it fiscally responsibly. You can only do one project at a time. Interest rates were at an all-time low. The time to do the bigger project was now. Any financial advisor will tell you that. That's
Going back to my original point, how can you have building committee people? How can you have a system where you have a school that doesn't have ground fault wiring, has a water issue, has the problems of smell and mold, and let that go until they have a study done?
All those were determined in the original study. The original feasibility study was for every building.
Why did it take until 2016? When in 2008 I was told it was going to be next. That's all I'm asking. Okay? And if
And if we would have had $100 million dropped in our lap, it could have been nice. But you have to be financially responsible, you have to do it the correct
So
order,
building a bigger school
and that's what
with a
happened.
smaller population.
I just answered your question.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And Mr. Bauer, I'll answer your last question if you're interested. If you came to any meetings of the previous board,
I did,
did you?
yes.
Did you see behavior like this?
Like what?
At the previous board, did you see people?
I see you're the one yelling.
No, at the previous board. Okay? Did you see a previous board, with the exception of 2 members on that board, 2 minority members? You didn't see the previous board behave like this.
Mr. Ruffin, I saw
You
you
did
have
not
the wrong
see
out
it.
of a meeting, and you have the wrong person. You didn't have the courtesy to walk back in and apologize to the gentleman because
I had
you
the
had
right
his mistaken identity.
And
You actually got up and walked out.
Again,
And that was on the previous board, so.
I don't, that's not what this is about. What this is about is what happened that night, that we had a community feeling good. I think we need to work together. I think we need to get off of Facebook and all that stuff. Because that just keeps, that's the issue. And again, I have nothing against any of you people. You're doing what you think is right. But just constantly yelling at each other. And again, I see a lot of money that goes into cities.
So do I.
Okay, we agree. We agree.
Yeah, we do agree.
Hello, Steve Bagwell, 42 Cherry Street. Mrs. Wright, you should resign. Every vote for her was unethical, and you all know it. It was all done for partisan reasons. That's against the code of conduct. It's really simple. None of you could possibly argue you voted for Mrs. Wright because she had superior credentials, or you thought she would do a better job. You immediately betrayed the valley by voting for, to save the 31 section. You're not saving $700,000. You were explaining it costs $2.2 million to bring this up to use for a latchkey center. Well, when you subtract the $700,000 from the $2.2 million, somebody's got to pay for that. Where's the money come from? Montoursville's not going to put it in. Nobody else is going to put it in. The school district's going to have to put that money in. You also have to look at the difference that it costs to service the debt, which is really only between $55,000 and $60,000 to remove that building, and what it's going to cost to maintain that building over time. You've created a problem immediately. That does not save money. And it doesn't save $700,000, ever. It's $57,000 a year. If it doesn't cost you more than that to maintain it. And if you don't put in the $2.2 million to do anything with it. You didn't understand it. This is what they want. You went right along with them. And it upsets a lot of the public that you're on board. Those comments are bigoted.
Kurt Miller, 617 Broad Street. Mr. Ruffin, I'd like to address you, if I might, and say what happened that night. In fact, when Project Unity was voted for, in fact, you won, sir. You won as a minority board member because that was option 5, dressed down after you guys screwed things up and found out, once you looked at it, that you were wrong, that you were elected on a platform that was wrong. So anything politically, science-wise is incorrect because you've been wrong about everything. Option 6 I'm talking about. So to address you, yes, you won that night because it went back to option 5, minus a much-needed gym, minus a band room that needs to be, but essentially you won that night. So option 5, let's call it what it is. Let's go back and call it what it is because there's no Project Unity anymore. You were wrong about that. You were wrong about the excellence of that design. You were wrong about the fiscal responsibility of that design. You were wrong about the cost of that project. And you know what? You lied to people. You lied to people and they voted based on those lies. You were wrong about how the taxes would be increased, because that's not happening. Come on, let's face it. You were wrong about cutting that much-needed gym ban. You were wrong to indulge yourself at the taxpayer expense and hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn that option 5 was right all along. You're wrong to think that you can mitigate, you're wrong now to think you can mitigate that damage by change ordering things to death and trying to save a dollar here when it's costing you $2 later on. You're wrong to appoint a person who's publicly associated with racist, homophobic, religiously insensitive, but boldly tolerating remarks to the board, all just so you can get a yes vote for your wrong ideas. You're wrong to taint the Matorsville School Board and good people of this town with racism. You're wrong to your anti-intellectual approach to select a board member, which looked past a learned educator in favor of someone who don't got no fancy degree. You're wrong to misconstrue your responsibility as a historical society at the expense of our children. You're wrong to pass an unwanted, unsafe building to the future citizens of this community who will have to tear it down at a cost much greater than $700,000 after an unknown dollar amount is spent to maintain it. You're wrong about the level of work that was required at the Loyalsock Valley. What it really needs is that drainage ditch in the back so that the water doesn't seep in, but nobody's even talking about that. You're wrong to cause the loss of excellent administrators, and I think you're feeling that, because I think you're feeling it right now. I know you came into this, you didn't like this person, and now you're feeling it. You're starting to feel what it is, and you're wrong to think that you're suited to choose their replacements. You're wrong to lose, you're going to be losing amazing teachers pretty soon. You're wrong to think that you're the people to negotiate the next contract. You've been wrong all along, but you won't admit it, and you don't know it. You won't even consider that. So you want to be heroes. It must be obvious to you at this point. It's not. So far, you've been nothing but wrong. And I submit that the only thing you can do that would be right is to resign and put matters of education of the children of the Matorsville School District in more capable hands.
I just wanted to, going back to auxiliary gym, just let you know I've asked that in emails and it needs to, and I got answers on those studies. Good luck. On the savings of that Karen, I believe, mentioned on the $800,000 on the 31 gym, or keeping the 31 structure, how much of that's going to be put into building the auxiliary gym when we realize we need it? And where do we plan on putting the auxiliary gym once we realize we need it? Regarding and going back to the Loyalsock Valley, just remembering that it's May, I remember 2 years ago sitting at school board meetings in the library when option 5 was actually presented for the first time. And they discussed Loyalsock Valley and the reasons why they were either going to build or not build there. So it was discussed 2 years ago. This was not something that was brought up in the last 8 months by the new board members. I want to say during meetings, I do appreciate seeing questions asked by almost everybody during discussions when they say, hey, vote, questions. Even Mr. McCleary, he asks questions all the time. I can't even think of the last time I've heard Mr. Hagemeyer ask a question during a discussion, or Mrs. Dincher, or Mrs. Johns. I just want to see discussions, the thought processes that are going into your decisions. I just want to see where those thoughts are going. I don't know if you guys, I know you're not allowed to have meetings outside of time, but I don't know when these discussions occur because I don't see them quite often up here, so I don't know where it's going. I also want to know when education will be on the agenda. I've been at meetings for months. I've seen, I don't know, 10 things here for cost items on the building. When is education items going to be on the agenda? Thank you.
If Pam, I can answer that question. I can't answer that question for you, but I'll comment on it. I don't know when we're going to start talking about education of students either. I would like to, but so far, since these new majority board members came on board December 7th, all we've talked about is the building project, replacing a superintendent, change orders, Everything, I feel like I'm sitting on the board of a construction company, okay? We have not discussed education, and we have not discussed students, all right? That's our new majority board. When are we going to discuss those items? I don't know.
Thank you.
Dr. Bowers, isn't it true that any board member can get anything added to the agenda on any board meeting?
That's the way it seems that this board is functioning. In the past, what we used to do is we would have board meetings and the president and vice president would come in and we'd sit down and talk about what was going to go on the agenda. They would share it back to board members and discuss that. What needed to be on the agenda. Over the last several months, it's been more of, you would place things on the agenda, or another board member would contact me or contact the office and suggest something for the agenda.
So in other words, any board member that wants something put on the agenda, all they have to do is ask.
Yeah, that's how I've been functioning with that. If someone were to email me or ask to put something on the agenda, I would usually send that back out to you, Ron, and make sure that that's okay. But that's typically what we did.
Why don't you go on and tell Ron Snell that our meetings are taken up with construction issues, okay? Superintendent searches, and everything else that's not related to education. That's what you're taking our time up with, okay?
I believe the things that are on the agenda are business that needs to be taken care of. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Joe Shore, sorry. 340 North Washington Street. I was just out there and I started to hear part of the conversation or information offered by Dr. Bowers about an earlier phone conversation today about the change of scope of the project having an adverse effect on the monies for Wellside Valley. But you could continue that statement. I didn't hear it. Maybe you said it. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, well, we had a, Scott Cousin did ask and Brandon and I said in a conversation with Jim Vogel today about Part I changes. So anytime there's change orders, it has to go through a Part I approval process. So Jim Vogel was just touching base with us today, just to go through these changes, trying to get a feeling for what's going on, why it's going on, how much more is going to go on, what the impact's going to be. And at the end of that conversation, I simply asked him a question. I said, Jim, I know this is a little bit of theory, but where do you think this is going to go in terms of how it will impact our overall plan time reimbursement? And at that time, where we sit today, he didn't feel that it would negatively impact the reimbursement amount to a great extent. Sure, there's going to be a little bit of a reduction as of right now, but because we haven't made major changes in the educational space, square footage, for example, that we had originally planned in the plan, we didn't feel it was going to adversely affect that overall number to a large degree, at least to a degree that would make it a superintendent. So I don't know if that helps you, but that's where that conversation is going.
You seem to have started that part of the conversation. It was interrupted, and I was curious about the rest of it.
Sure.
So thank you.
Caroline, we're prone to want to North Street, and thought I'd join my family and comment. I was wondering, do you know what a black box theater is, Mrs. Jones? Do you know what a black box theater is? Do you know what a black box theater is, Mrs. Wright?
Is that where the seats are movable, or you can make a stage or a classroom?
It's a big black, huge, well not huge, square, and it has a stage, and then it's followed by seats. Okay? You can use this space for theater, music, choruses, auditions, small group meetings, team building, leadership, small conferences. This is the equivalent to our football field and our sports program for the theater, the arts, any kind of art, you name it. By eliminating this, we are taking away so much from our kids. Are we eliminating this?
Can I put that rumor to rest?
Only if you're polite about it. Because I don't like how you're talking to me right now.
I'm asking you a question. Would it be all right, Mrs. LeCrone, if I put that rumor to rest?
I would love it.
There has been no vote to eliminate any black box theater.
Okay, good. Well, now that you all know what it is, I hope that when we do make the vote, that you will vote in favor of that.
In favor of keeping it.
In favor of keeping it, yes.
And Mr. Snell, before we go here, I have an email here from Bob Lowe. Bob, I had asked you if you cared if I read this in the meeting. Do you know which email I'm referring to?
I believe I do.
Do you have any problem with me reading it?
It's on the website.
It's a coercion email, Bob, just for clarification.
Yeah, oh, I know what it is. I'm just saying that it's public. It can be accessed with right to know.
Okay? With all due respect to you, I thought I would check with you before I read it. If people, I thought we could save people the money of not doing it right to know. If you would prefer that I not read it publicly, I respect your wish.
Well, the gist of it is probably established by reading it easier than me explaining it. But it was that there was some pressure put on me to affect my vote for who, for the ninth board member. And that pressure was probably, on my part, I should have stood my ground a little bit. It's something I did, and looking back, it was a mistake. And it wasn't a mistake in that Karen is not qualified. It was a mistake in allowing the majority to remain the majority. That was my mistake.
And you were told that certain members of this board would quit if she wasn't the next board member, Bob?
That's correct.
And if anybody asks you privately, Bob, then you don't mind me sharing that with them privately?
No.
Thank you, Bob.
Hats off to you, Bob, for
And just one more thing. That would seem to be a very drastic measure for a board member to say, if you don't put her on the board, I quit. Did they indicate to you, Bob, and just last question, did they indicate to you why they would quit if she was not chosen for the ninth board member?
Well, yeah, because they would lose the majority.
Thank you, Bob.
Mr. President, can I just make a quick comment?
We have a speaker.
Wait a minute, there's a motion. Motion on the table.
Scott would like to say something.
I just have two comments. Motion's on the table.
You
Thanks,
know
Mr.
what?
Warrior, you're the man.
All those in favor?
Hey, Ron, why don't you let the guys say? Go ahead.
Scott, speak. It's good comments.
It's good comments.
It's good comments. So if you're looking at a night out rather than a joke of a school board meeting, we're good. Next Thursday, 2016 class will graduate at 7 o'clock. They'll be in the football stadium.
Get that on tape? Oh, baby. Landon knows. He knows. Oh, you are.
Not this time.
You better. My dear? Yeah. No, that's ship it off. Both of them so
I was nervous about what she was going to say.
I shake like